Okay, now it works. Oh, and it's looking exactly how I think it would. And anytime I talk to people about this, everyone says Taunt Jet Upper is harder than Perfect Electric. When Perfect Electric is harder. And you can explain why it is harder. Quite easily. I don't know why. I don't know why this happens. I think it's because people really like Brian and the Taunt Jet Upper. And because Knee keeps doing it, these very notable tournament players like Knee and Jimmy keep throwing Taunt Jet Uppers. And I think it's... people are huge fans of Brian, Taunt Jet Upper, and Knee, and Jimmy. And it looks really cool. So, but it's definitely based on subjective favoritism and emotion. It's not based on fact. Because if you look at the facts, Perfect Electric actually is harder. And I don't say that being a Kazuya enthusiast. It's just, you can explain it objectively. And if you actually, oh why? I'm gonna explain now. But if you look at, the one thing you're gonna notice is that there are actually plenty of Brian players out there who can do Taunt Jet Upper at like 90%. And that's not exaggerated. They will land it almost every time. Go watch Low High, who's not a Brian main, by the way. Watch him play Brian, and he hits it. Some days it's literally 100%. He just never misses it. And you know, Naps on a good day, Knee on a good day, they never drop it. They never drop Taunt Jet Upper. And then you'll notice that Kazuya players, even the best in the world, drop Perfect Electric a shitload. When you watch the absolute best Kazuya players, on a really good day, they might have it at 50%. But most of their days, you'll see them drop it more than they land it. For sure. There's, you can find Brian players out there who hit Taunt Jet Upper pretty much every single time. But you will not find a Kazuya player who can do Perfect Electric every single time. It just doesn't work. And I'm going to now explain why. So both of these involve multiple just frames. So both of these you cannot buffer. So the way Brian's taunt works is that you do the taunt, and he's doing the taunt animation. And as soon as you press something, he cancels the taunt immediately. So there's no buffering here. You can buffer Jet Upper when you're punishing. You block a -14 move, and during your block stagger, you can input forward, and then back to as soon as you recover, and you get it perfectly at 14 frames. Anyone can do that every single time. But when you do a taunt, you have to wait for the exact frame when the taunt connects. And then you have 16 frames to input forward, neutral, back to 16 frames, Jet Upper. So that's one just frame. And the exact same is true for Kazuya's down for 2 electric, or just block punishing into Perfect Electric. You have to wait for the block stun to end, so this is not where you can buffer like Brian's Jet Upper. On a block punish with Kazuya, there's no buffering. You have to wait to the exact frame you've recovered and then punish. And down for 2 counter hit, you have to wait for the exact frame Kazuya has recovered and then input forward, neutral, down for 2, or forward, no neutral, down for 2 too. And you'll get a Perfect Electric if you do the entire chain frame perfect. So the difficulty is the same there. But here is the notable difference in difficulty and why Jet Upper is easier to do. If you go into practice mode and you want to do a Jet Upper, or you ask the best Brian players to input a Jet Upper, they will be able to do it every single time. You can even ask me to do a Jet Upper in practice mode. I can do it every single time. Right, so here's the notable difference. Ask the best Kazuya players in the world to do electrics, and even the best in the world just doing normal electrics, and this is not perfect electrics, they drop them. they drop them quite a bit. Especially if they play stressful matches. You'll see a lot of down 2, you see a lot of down forward 2. And this is because no matter how much you practice the electric input, it's just easier to go from inputting forward and then back, forward, back. That is a more natural and easier to do execution than pressing forward and then neutral and then down and slide. It is so tricky that even the absolute best players in the world who've done this a million times sometimes input forward, neutral, and then down 2 and they don't slide. And hence they get a dick jab. Right. So that is why Perfect Electric is harder than Taunt Jet Upper. And that is why you see some of the best players in the world with Kazuya drop electrics once in a while and have Perfect Electric at nowhere near the consistency of where, you know, the best Brian players have the Taunt Jet Upper consistency. Right. You can go to the streams of the best Brian players and low high and you'll see them do Taunt Jet Upper 20 times in a row, basically. But in terms of Kazuya and Perfect Electric, that does not exist. You can see some of them on great days hit it quite a bit, but there's just no comparison whatsoever. And this is because one of the techniques, they both have the frame perfect, you know, wait for the taunt animation to end, wait for down for 2 to end, but it's in the input itself. A jet upper, you're not gonna drop that input too much. But an electric, even normal electrics are dropped by Mishima experts. So then when you're talking perfect electric, I think that input error just compounds. So to me, and with all the experience I've seen with Brian and Kazuya players, to me it's obvious that Perfect Electric is harder. But they're both the 2 hardest techniques in the game. So they're not far away from each other. Perfect Electric is just slightly harder. And it's due to the notation itself being trickier. But when you ask people about this, everyone says Taunt Jet Upper is harder. And I think it's because people are emotional towards it and they feel Taunt Jet Upper is a really cool technique. And so do I. Everyone loves seeing Brian go in with a taunt, break their guard, and then Jet Upper. And some of our favorite players like Nee and Jimmy, people love Taunt Jet Uppers. But if we get down to the facts, I think, yeah, Perfect Electric takes the cake in being the hardest technique in this game. But again, it's just slightly above. It's just slightly above.